now for a review of what's making the headlines in the papers this morning, let's bring in Arise News analyst, Dr. Constance Ikoku. Good morning, Dr. Ikoku. Thanks for joining us.
It's so good to see you. You're back on Daybreak.
Yes, I'm back. Good to
All
see
right.
you.
Good to see you. Welcome back. And I'm not sure if you want to go to war with earpiece.
We're not trying to go to war. We're just stating what needs to be done.
Okay. We'll see how that goes. Good morning, Charles and Yolanda.
Good morning,
Good morning,
Dr.
Constance.
Good to see you.
Good to see you too. All right, to look at the papers with us this morning, we have Emmanuel Aziken. He is a columnist with Vanguard newspaper. Hello there and welcome to the program. We'll begin with this day. In this day, Lagos GDP hits $259 billion, emerges second largest city economy in Africa. It trails behind Cairo, Egypt. Lagos is also expected to generate 2.79 trillion naira in 2025 as revenue, and the government says with the right reforms it could generate 5 trillion. There's also, or they're talking about a better approach to taxation and pointing out Lagos' potential to be like Dubai and Singapore. I mean, not surprising at all, great financial story. However, the Lagos to Dubai, Singapore bit is it's a little bit far away still in terms of livability, infrastructure, access to good housing, public transport, healthcare, education. All this beautiful environment combines to make a city fantastic, Emmanuel.
Well, I do agree with you. The Lagos to Dubai comparison is a little bit far-fetched. But there are two takes for me from that story. The first is, in the very first paragraph of that story I read, that the Lagos GDP is ranked second in Africa based on purchasing power parity. That tells you that the present exchange rate is greatly, the Naira is greatly undervalued. That if the Naira were to be properly valued, it will not be the present. It will not be at the present 1,500 or thereabouts. So it tells you that there is great room for the Naira to get its correct value based on purchasing power parity. And my second take on that story is the low tax rate that you see towards the ending of that story. He said that based on GDP, the tax per GDP in Lagos is just 2%, which is far below the national average of 7% and the recommended 15% for any country. So it tells us that much of the tax in Lagos is not being collected. There's great revenue leakage. And why is this? You see that in Lagos, there are a number of non-state actors involved in revenue collection. I think there was a report some time ago that said that I think the non-agberus in Lagos are getting as much as almost 200 billion naira per year, which is far more than the revenue, internally generated revenue of any other state in the country. So it tells us that, yes, Lagos should plug the leakages so that more of the revenue being collected should enter the state coffers.
Let's move on quickly to The Guardian. Fantastic take, Emmanuel, there. In The Guardian, fresh hurdle for Fubara as Assembly Wike party insists on impeachment. The pro-Wike lawmakers were also reported to have denied Governor Fubara access to present the 2025 budget. We do have that story in the Vanguard, if we can see Vanguard newspaper. Here it says, Rivers, heavens will not fall if Fubara is impeached, according to Wike. Again, Emmanuel, Minister Nyesom Wike is on this case. He will not stop. They're not even talking about reconciliation at this point. It seems really dire for Governor Fubara.
It's exactly dire for Governor Fubara, especially after the peace meeting with the president. The president told them to go back to Rivers and adhere to the rule of law. So, and Minister Wike is now saying that heavens will not fall if the rule of law is allowed to have its way. Well, one might say that I think the minister was, his language was I would say, poisonous. It was very harsh and vitriolic. But whatever, I think he's saying the truth. The fact is that I don't think the heavens will fall, whatever happens to Fubara. Taking into consideration, I think it was said yesterday, that half of the legislators with Wike are Ijaw. half of the legislators with Wike are Ijaw. So, and I think it's a give and take. Governor Fubara, I don't think, has played his politics very well. He needs to be more tactful. One should encourage him. He should, for a governor who has the enormous patronage he has, that none of the 27 lawmakers with Wike, he was not able to woo any one of them. It shows his level of his capacity to make friends. So, but whatever, is the people of Rivers that will suffer. So one will call on Minister Wike and the governor. They should sheath their swords so that Rivers can move forward.
The situation there and an unfolding story. Let's also see Daily Independent this morning. Tinubu intervenes in Lagos Assembly crisis, another political issue. Meets Obasa, Miranda, other assembly members. That story also features in Daily Sun, if we can pull that up. It says here, Tinubu meets Lagos Assembly. Members were hearing that the president also overruled the Chief Bisi Akonde panel, which had recommended that the impeached Speaker Mudashiru Obasa be reinstated, after which he should resign to pave way for a new speaker. President Bola Tinubu, according to this report, is backing Obasa to stay on, while Obasa had refused to resign anyway after he was reinstated. Charles, I don't know, typical of Nigerian politicians. They don't want to leave.
There's always drama in Nigeria. We just finished talking about Wike. Now we're talking about Lagos. And I think the drama even started at the arrival. Obasa came separately. The others came together. Now this meeting was closed door, right? High stakes political discussions are always closed door, but they tend to come out and tell you what happened. But the aftermath of this was anything but discreet, right? They came out, they were chanting, "On your mandate we shall stand." And I think it was just sort of a public display of allegiance. But I think it just shows that in Nigeria, loyalty in Nigerian politics is not really expected. It's just sort of a performance.
May our loyalty never be tested. Remember that quotation.
Beneath this whole drama, and beyond this whole drama, the question is, can this sort of public display of resolve when it comes to the underlying tensions in the State House of Assembly in Lagos really move on? Because we now have this story of the 5 billion Naira saga when it comes to the ousted Speaker Miranda as well. Okay,
let's move on quickly to the Punch. Lagos Calabar Highway project, wasteful, corrupt, says Obasanjo. He also said that Tinubu ignored protests against the 15 trillion coastal highway project. He faulted the 2 billion naira spent on VP residents. Former President Olusegun Obasanjo says all of this are misplaced priority. This was in his new book, Nigeria, Past and Future, that was unveiled to mark his 88th birthday last week. You have to admire the intellectual bent of former President Olusegun Obasanjo, always writing and publishing books. He's probably one of the most active former presidents we have in this country, always interested in Nigerian and African matters. Charles, a quick comment here.
President Obasanjo should know, former President Obasanjo should know exactly what he's talking about because he's been there. And when I think about the cost of road construction in Nigeria, it's humongous.
Yes. Just a project.
4.91 billion naira per kilometer. And you're talking about 700 kilometers. I mean,
wasteful indeed.
I wonder where those funds are going into. Is it just road construction alone? I think I'll leave it with that question.
And you know, the other thing about the story is the pilot phase cost 1.06 trillion naira.
Just the pilot phase.
And that pilot phase starts with Eco Atlantic and ends at where does it end? It ends at Lekki Deep Sea Port. So it shows you it's a personal project that the president is interested in, and that's why they are moving on with that first of all. Anyway, is what it is. We brought you that solid. Let's move on to New Telegraph. Senate, Akpotiu Duanga suspended for gross misconduct, not sexual harassment. Can we also see the front page of this day, because they have the latest on this, on that International Monetary Union, IPU angle, Akpabio versus Natasha Senate presents defense before IPU seeks fair hearing. So Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan did lodge her complaint before the IPU, which said that it would have to hear from the Nigerian Senate. So we'll now have to wait to see the outcome. Yolanda, if you want to, wow, okay, anybody, quick comment.
Okay, I think quickly, I think this issue has now transcended Senator Akpabio
And
Senator
Akpoti.
Akpoti-Uduaghan. I think it's no longer just about whether she had concrete evidence of sexual harassment. I think now it's even more about the Senate's conduct and the precedent it will set when it comes to this situation. And I think there's sort of an irony here. This is a Senate, right? A body that often struggles to follow its own rules, right? Whether it comes to passing budgets on time or addressing the needs of constituency, is now sort of a patron of discipline. So I think my last word on this is a Shakespearean quote: "The lady doth protest too much, methinks."
Well, I don't know if many will agree with you. Yolanda, did you want to say something before?
Well, you know, here it's a dicey situation. And when I heard her speak and heard her shaky voice with her tears in her eyes when she had to put her glasses on, I had to take a moment and say, all right, I think it's time that we start looking at this objectively and remove the emotion and the sentiment out of it. I'm just hoping that there's a fair hearing, a fair trial, and everybody gets to have their say at the end of the day. There's so much talk with all protesters coming out every day since this has broken out, and I think we just have to wait. It's a waiting game to see what really transpires.
So both sides have to get fair hearing.
Absolutely.
Yes. Right, let's move on to the international headlines for you this morning. We have a daily graphic. Can we pull up a daily graphic? Let me see what we have there.
Citizen.
No, we have, okay, yeah, we have daily graphic. Mahama Cares launched medical initiative to support cancer, kidney, heart patients. We also move on to the Citizen. Budget, give a little, joke a lot. No, take a lot. Yes, take a lot. Members of unions, farm workers associations, civil society groups have been protesting in South Africa about the proposed 2% VAT hike. Some of the placards read, tax the richest 1% and increase all social grants. We know that for the first time in the dawn of democracy in SA, the budget presentation was postponed due to a disagreement between the ANC and the DA on this matter. Now, the 2% hike has been reduced to 0.5%. Yolanda, there's an economic crunch everywhere. So the public has succeeded in reducing that. And we also know that in Nigeria yesterday, we heard that the VAT hike in the tax reform bills, the senators are saying it has to be dropped.
You know, it's crazy and it's a dicey situation, because when I looked at this headline, it reminded me immediately of last year this time, well, a little bit earlier, in Kenya with President Ruto.
Yes.
You know, when he had the VATs and the youth were rioting all over the place. If this is not handled properly, there might be a second coming of that, but in South Africa. And it's a dicey issue. You don't just add taxes anyhow like that. Nobody's going to stand for it.
All right, the Times this morning, back peace or I'll ruin you. Trump tells Putin, okay, what a headline.
Yes.
President Trump is threatening to devastate the Russian economy if the Kremlin refuses to sign the peace deal hammered out in Saudi Arabia with Ukraine on board already. Emmanuel, let me bring you in here. Do you think Putin will bat an eyelid? Trump is really, talking top and trying to get this off the ground. What are your thoughts?
Putin is very, very vulnerable at this time. Don't forget that the war has cost Russia a lot. Russia is even depending on North Korea for some assistance, including troops. So I think Trump is giving him a leeway. Whatever it is, Putin is likely to succumb to this deal.
Trump is also trying to protect himself from looking like a fool, because he has been standing with Russia from the beginning. So it's also a warning, like, Russia, you better get yourself together. You better stand by what you said. And don't forget, Russia has a history of failing on what it promises.
I was thinking that Trump's rhetoric with Putin would be a lot more conciliatory. I mean, he's been quoting the man. I mean, he's been a lot friendly. Then all of a sudden, he's talking tough. Putin also is this kind of personality who wouldn't even take that kind of thing lying down. So
that's true.
It's a dicey situation here.
It is.
Okay,
yes,
well, I think both men, Putin and Trump, have a good relationship, so they'll sort that out. Let's see our final story, The Guardian, UK. Starmer faces MPs' anger over major cuts to welfare. PM could see huge rebellion as dozens call on Number 10 to rethink. In fact, the anger is not only directed towards the Prime Minister, Keir Starmer, but also Chancellor of the Exchequer, Rachel Reeves. The sickness and disability benefits are to be cut. This is in addition to other cuts that have a feature already in the budget. It's a tsunami, Nkechi.
Yes, I think what's even interesting here is that the Labour Party, they're having an identity crisis, right? This is a party that historically they've been a party of social justice, a party of equality, a party of welfare. Now you have Starmer trying to rebrand them to be a party of work, and I think in doing so,
is it rebranding, or this is something they necessarily have to do?
Well, whether it's what they have to do, he has his work cut out for him, because I think it's risked him alienating the people who have traditionally been Labour's base. And then also you have the human cost of this policy. Starmer says he wants to, and I'm quoting him, protect those who need protecting. But people are saying, look, your action suggests otherwise. So it's just a dicey game for Starmer and the Labour Party at this point.
It might not be politically expedient, but they are trying to balance the budget and rein in a reckless expenditure. Not easy at all. All right, we'll have to leave it there. Emmanuel Aziken, columnist for Vanguard newspaper. Great to have you today.
All right, that's all we have. Thank you so much, Dr. Constance Ikoku, as well. And that's all we have here on Daybreak. I am Nkechi Nana.
And I'm Charles Eruka. It's goodbye from me.
And I'm Yolanda Robert. Please do keep it here on Arise News. The morning show is next. Goodbye.